Bill's guest tonight from Boys and Girls, Heather Donahue, comedian Eddie Izzard, The West Wing's Bradley Whitford, and radio talk show host Holly McClure.
Let's meet our panel. She is a film critic for Crosswalk.com, a contributor to the Fox Movie Show, and the co-host of Gay PRZ's Holly McClure Live. Holly McClure, right over here. Holly.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, thank you. Good to see you. All right, one of the very fine stars of the very fine show, The West Wing, Wednesdays at 9 on another network. Bradley Whitford, I love this show. It's Josh. I love that West Wing. A star of the upcoming movie Shadow of the Vampire. His Circle comedy tour hits L.A.'s Henry Fonda Theater this weekend. Eddie Izzard is back with us. Eddie. How are you, sir? God save the Queen. She is one of the stars of the phenomenal Blair Witch Project. Her new movie, Boys and Girls, opens tomorrow. Heather Donahue. Heather. Hey. How are you? Wow. Thank you very much. All right. And these are for guests for another show. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about political correctness, oddly enough, because I mentioned this in the monologue the other day. The National Alliance for the Mentally Ill is protesting Jim Carrey's new movie, Me, Myself, and Irene. They say it is insensitive to people with multiple personality disorders, which is, by the way, not the same thing as schizophrenia. And they sent us this writer's guide about a year ago. It's from the National Stigma Clearinghouse. And it says you can't use words like schizo, psycho, wacko, loony bin, insane asylum, funny farm. You know, with wackos like this out there, how can I not use these words, is what I'm saying.
And are they saying you can't use it, or people shouldn't?
This is a guide for people in television to set an example on the public airwaves that we should all be a little more sensitive to people who are nuts.
They're schizophrenic.
Now, they are. They are. I would remind them this is a Farrelly Brothers movie, you know.
And it offends everyone, Bill. I mean, midgets will be offended, albinos will be offended,
You've
children
seen
will be...
this?
Oh, yes.
Oh.
And everyone will be offended.
Right, you're a film critic. Right.
Everyone will be offended. No one will walk out of there feeling they've...
funny?
They're funny moments, yes. Very offensive, but they're very funny moments.
Well,
it's the
these are the guys
so...
who made, you know, something about Mary.
Exactly.
But it's entertainment. They made a lot of money.
The problem is not when you're laughing at a Jim Carrey movie about schizophrenia. The problem is when people are laughing at a documentary about schizophrenia. That would be a problem.
Right.
And certainly the Farrelly Brothers are not a documentary.
No, they're not.
I believe their last movie is about a woman who used semen as hair gel.
But you know what? You know what? There's something about Mary had a sweetness to it. I mean, even though there was some bizarre things that happened and funny, it was still had a sweet story. This is just a bizarre story, and Jim Carrey's me in this movie. So, I mean, he offends everyone. So, trust me, albinos will protest, midgets will protest.
You can't call them midgets, though.
Well, they do in the movie.
Oh.
Black
I
midgets.
thought people have restricted
They
growth.
call them midgets in the movie. That's what they say. So I'm saying, I'm naming who will be offended from the movie.
Yeah. But I was saying, if the clearinghouse is saying you can't say all these words, they've got to come up with some words for people who cut you up on the road and you want to lean out the window and say, hey, you... And you've got to have something to say. You whack, you really bad driving type person that doesn't work. We need alternative swear words, cuss words.
But Eddie, I have to tell you, you know, England is worse than America. I mean, you think we're politically correct, and we are, and it's got to stop. But England, listen to this.
Well, before you say that,
do you know what?
Bill, can I just say, I think politically correct is the bad term. It's a media term, and it is a censorship. It cuts in. It should be positive attitude. It should be open-ended, PA, positive attitude, and that you can move that. But political correct is bad.
Well, listen to this, Mother. In Gloucester, England, they now have undercover bigot police. You talk about Big Brother. They talk police who sit in a restaurant and try to overhear the conversations of people. One man has already been arrested for inappropriate table talk.
That's the charge?
That's the charge. Another one was mimicking an Indian waiter. Well, if you can't make fun of ethnic waiters, you know, Why do you think we go to those restaurants? It's not the food.
But doesn't this just go to show why the First Amendment is so important and why so many people come to this country?
Yes.
We have those freedoms. No one else has them.
I mean, England,
and as many problems as there are with it, it still ultimately
do we
is the
really
freedom
have
that
those freedoms? John Rocker's out of a job because he's a...
John Rocker was not sent down until he wasn't pitching well.
That's the lie
And he also
that the
wasn't
Atlanta
arrested.
Braves tell you.
If he was pitching, if he was at the top of his game, they would have kept him up there.
That's ridiculous.
He's a schmuck. He shouldn't get fired.
He was a schmuck. He got fired
an idiot.
because he's a schmuck. He had a bad stretch of pitching. He was one of the best pitchers. Anybody else with his record who wasn't speaking the way he spoke would not have been sent down. That was a cover story. He's pitching badly.
But he
Come
wasn't
on.
put in jail. He still wasn't arrested. He might have lost his job, but he wasn't arrested like this guy in this restaurant for imitating an Indian waiter.
Well, first of all, who is defining what is derogatory or not? Who's defining what is bigoted or not? Who's making up the rules so that we know even where to start from? Who's setting the standards for this? I mean, if we get so sensitive to the fact that someone says something, what happened to just ignoring the person and saying, sorry, I don't believe that way, or I don't want to think that way,
was saying,
ignoring
like,
it.
you know, faggot, Jew, you know, I mean, it was pretty clear.
And it's not right, okay? But did it really hurt anyone? I mean, really, did it hurt?
guy,
even if it does.
I mean, even if it...
Who's to say the guy's not giving a tribute because he loves the melodic quality of the Indian accent? How do we know it's not a tribute to the Indian waiter?
Why? Yeah.
Well,
That's a good point. That's a good point. Why are we so passionate?
I give a melodic tribute to Indian food about 2 hours after I eat it.
But from experience, would you say that's what he's going to do? I doubt that. You know, because it would have been. That for me is most pure racism. Much more.
But who's the
So do you want to arrest Hank Azaria for doing the voice of a poo on The Simpsons?
But did the Indian guy even hear it? I mean, if you've got a policeman sitting there writing down comments what people say in the own privacy of a dinner in a restaurant...
That's not the point. Even if it does hurt somebody, the government isn't here to stop all hurts.
Exactly.
Okay?
My point.
There is hurt in life.
Amen.
The government's only here to prevent physical hurt. Robbery, rape, being beaten, okay? Not, you know, what happened to sticks and stones.
That's true. That's true. I agree with you.
I think what happens in the real world on the street is just going to happen. No one's going to legislate against that. And what happens in government shouldn't, and television and media shouldn't be using racist terms. And there should be laws on that.
And I agree with you on this as it applies to, like, hate crimes. I mean, I think that it's a very scary, slippery slope to go down, that you prosecute someone differently for what they're thinking.
Yes,
I mean, it should be part of the process, but it's certainly...
Well, then you are a very good actor, because you convinced me of the opposite when you play your character.
Well, they were paying me.
We got to take a break. We'll be right back. All right, we were talking about, yeah, whatever. Whatever. I was going to say words that hurt. Often, as we were saying, you know, it really isn't a matter for the law. It doesn't affect your life. But here's a case where it really did. I don't know how many are familiar. There's a college called Beaver College. Okay? I do not bring this up for any cheap joke. This is a story in the news. And the story is that they are having to change their name. I mean, they have been there since 1853. And, of course, people have made jokes. Beaver has taken it for its name.
Oh.
But they just voted their board 23-1 to change their name to something else, anything else. Because it's not the jokes. It's the fact that people can't apply anymore because of Internet filters. The Internet filters out that word. They see that word, beaver, and so kids who want to know about...
Beaver College.
Yes, kids who might want to get into Beaver can't.
I thought the problem...
Boy, are they right.
I thought the problem was the case that people were going for Beaver College and it was coming up with like 99 sex sites and then one, and they were right at the bottom of the...
So I thought that, and I did a search for Beaver College today, and all that came up was Beaver College. That's all I got.
Well, the actual college.
Like, yeah. So
I did too.
So they're doing very well now.
I looked it up too, and I didn't see anything else.
What's the big deal? Like, again, it's like, I'm sure this whole publicity thing is just getting more applicants for Beaver College.
But did you look it up on a kid's site?
And then, no.
You have to go to one of those kids' websites which filters out things.
But wouldn't that site filter out all the porno? I think people, again, with all the internet porn and whatnot, people are making such a big deal out of nothing. Boys have had Playboys in their dresser drawers from the day it was public.
It's yes.
And how do you know?
Yeah.
Well, no, I majored in diving at State, so I've been through
and how do you know that it's better?
But I think if the name of your college is Beaver College, you just have to say uncle. Because it's going to be silly. I mean, you know, the parents, we're so proud of Timmy. He got into Beaver. You know, it's going to be tough.
You should have a sense of humor.
It's like the AIDS reduction plan. I mean, they change your name. You know.
The AIDS reduction plan.
Remember, it was a diet thing.
They had to go out of business.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to throw up the white flag. Right. That was just bad timing. You're right. There was I remember. You're right. I hadn't thought of that in years. But just when AIDS came along, there was this mint called AIDS.
Right.
And, you know, I'd hate to be in that marketing meeting. Okay, fellas, we need some really good ideas on how we are going to pull ourselves away from that other AIDS.
We're the different AIDS.
Yeah. We're the other white AIDS.
Aren't there other colleges other than Beaver College that have this problem?
Ball State.
Ball State
comes to mind. You know.
Ball State U, Ball U.
Well, people are still going there, so obviously someone found the school, and they obviously like it.
Oral Roberts probably has an internet section. Carnegie Mellon, I would think, probably.
Or couldn't Beaver College just keep the name and then have pornography as one of their main subjects they work on? They get a lot of people surfing porn sites and then say, I'm going to go to that college. It does so much porn.
But, you know, I mean,
Beaver School.
We talked about this recently, that libraries have, or don't have, on their computers any of these filters, and they want them, and I think they should have them, because you couldn't put Hustler magazine in the library, and yet the ACLU does not want the library to be able to ban pornography.
Does the library provide hand cream and tissues, or is it...
Well, they should, because, I mean...
Yeah, because that's what's going to attract. Basically, what you're doing with the library having pornography is you're setting a situation for every pedophile who wants to come in, you know, every child molester who wants to come in. Basically, it's a candy store. They can come into a library, get their jollies, and also look around for their next prey.
It's a mess.
No,
I mean,
but you're also going to have to improve the filters that are used, though.
Yes.
Because they're so inaccurate, and they're so...
Why do we even have to have porn in the library in the first place? Why do you
have it online, and you have to have internet access online?
Can I say, why do the pedophiles and whatever come into the library? Why don't they just get the computer and do it at home?
Because then they've got children there. The point is, then they have the kids there to prey on.
It's a one-stop shopping
It's a one-stop shopping thing. So you get it, you look
That's very American, isn't it?
Like a mini mall.
We haven't got that set up yet.
You will. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Our guest will be actor and comedian Pauly Shore, songwriter Jimmy Jam, recording artist Tracy Dawn, and from the Van Guster, Ryan Miller.
All right, we're talking about, actually doing it for England and America. I always like to do that when you're here, Eddie. And, of course, your country is a socialist country. And
social democratic now. It had sort of moved away from socialist. Socialist was equivalent to communist.
It's socialist, believe me. And our country is about this far away from being a socialist country. And I'll give you an example. This week, President Clinton decreed that all federal employees get 12 weeks off, paid, if you want to have a baby. If you want to spit out a child as your recreational diversion, your employer and fellow workers will cover for you 12 weeks paid vacation. Socialism.
Amen. Amen.
All right. They seem to like it. There's plenty of socialists right here.
And why not? I mean, what? You should have a child who then gets raised by a nanny who then is completely frustrated and brings a gun to school? Like, that's...
No,
I mean, at what
people
point...
used to take care of that situation on their own. They were like, oh, I'm going to have a baby. I guess I better take certain precautions, find certain people, maybe get a wife, whatever it took. You know, whatever arrangements had to be.
But not
everyone's got that much cash.
What?
Exactly.
I mean, I can see it both ways, but you are, America now, you are the Roman Empire. There's no one else because, you know, USSR, the nickel elastic went out of that. So just you and the Roman Empire, very similar thing. And so you got this cash, you got the government surplus. Let's all spread it around, have a holiday.
But is it also in addition for having a baby if you're taking care of someone who's sick?
That's also true.
So it's not just people recreationally spitting out children.
No.
No.
And it would cost the government $60 million a year. How bad is that? When you look at the scheme of the government budget, it's not that bad.
The figure is wrong. 60 million can't be right.
I was reading about it today.
It can't be right.
That's 60 million. They can't buy a wrench at the Pentagon for 60 million. I think it's probably 60 billion.
People have to earn it. It's not automatically given to you when you take a
Okay, but wait a minute. Who's having the babies, first of all? Men aren't going to take off to have babies for 12 weeks, obviously. It's the women that are doing it. Let's look at the small business owner. What happens to him? Let's say he has 4 or 5 employees and 2 of them get pregnant. Then he has to pay for women to go.
Yeah,
we are.
No, he doesn't have to pay.
Yes, he does have to pay.
No, he doesn't have to pay.
He has to hire somebody else to come in and cover his shifts.
It's businesses. I don't know what the figure is, but it's a certain number, and it's not. You don't have to be a big business. This is not just General Motors. We're talking about.
No, it's small-time business. It's going to put the small businessman out of business because they won't be able to afford paying for someone else to come in and cover the person who left for 12 weeks.
So what is your answer to someone whose child is dying, a single mother's child is dying?
I'm a single mother. I've had 3 kids. Trust me, my kids have all been sick. I've had to take time off from work, and I've had to take time off from a job to even have a baby. So I understand this.
Well, what did
have they had leukemia? If your mother had a
you guys?
Okay, then let's have some sick leave. Then why not Clinton? Which, by the way, he usually does these bills on Friday evening when the news won't cover it, and he can flip them through so nobody knows.
But he didn't with this one.
But why won't we have some kind of legislation to cover sick child leave then? So you can take off then if your child is sick, you can prove they are, and take care of the child. Why does it have to be a 12-week vacation? Because you know kids aren't sick for 12 weeks.
So what do you think Clinton's motivation is? Just let's spend some dough and give
let's pander to voters like his motivation always is.
No,
but
why at this stage of his
why would he care? Exactly.
I mean, what did people used to do before the government wasn't there to take care of all your big problems? I don't know what happened. What did people do?
We're talking about the golden era of the 50s when the mother was able to stay home because it was economically possible for that to happen.
I guess I am.
Wait a minute.
Holly, I got to take a commercial. We'll be right back. 2 years ago, the head of the FBI took advantage of this. 12 weeks off, head of the FBI.
He did do that, or will do that?
Yeah, he did. Just like your Tony Blair is doing now.
Yeah, we had a nice baby. So what, should we
I'm just saying, you got a big job. Maybe you shouldn't take a lot of time off when you got a really big job like that.
But the head of the FBI has already done this, even though the law is just being passed.
And that's why our security is in such good shape in this country, as you see every day. Okay, I got to go sell some secrets. Pauly Shore tomorrow with Jimmy Jam, Tracy Dawn, and Ryan Miller.